So, yo, here we are. And this is not the smartest guys in the room. I see Tom. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Today we're coming out hot. The title, making your audience give a about
Shh.
you. I couldn't it wouldn't allow me to put an exclamation point and then a T. It said that is not permitted.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Even if
Yeah.
you put did you try the $H exclamation point T?
No, I just went SH exclamation point T, and it said no for today.
Gotcha. So apparently Clubhouse doesn't like 4-letter words, huh?
No, yeah, when Clubhouse first started, and I don't know how other platforms are, there was a lot of talk about shadow bans and things if as they started to use audio, do they ban? I wonder, Eric, Chris, we got in the house today. I wonder if anybody knows if you put like a vulgar word on like a LinkedIn or on a Facebook, is that even allowed or do they edit it? What happens there?
I gotta say, I think this whole shadow banning thing is like a conspiracy theory, nothing burger. Like, honestly, people like I've heard everyone complain about being shadow banned, right? Like everyone from like people who are getting millions of views or downloads on their content, right, to people who have zero following, all complaining about the same thing. And I think it's just a bunch of nonsense. Like what I think honestly it is here's what's happened is like what happens is these platforms, any of the social media platforms, like anyone you want to name, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, uh, Twitter, whatever, right? Clubhouse, any social media platform, what they do is they're constantly tweaking their algorithm, right? They're constantly adjusting and adapting and changing the algorithm. And so with those changes come repercussions, right? Like they change the algorithm, and that change to the algorithm affects what content gets shown to people and what things get shared and how often things show up in people's feeds and all of those things, right? Like, oh, so strange, like hard to wrap my head around. Like actions have consequences, right? They change the algorithm, that causes an effect, right, in what people see. Like obviously it does. And I think what happened, what this whole shadow banning thing was about was the algorithm would get tweaked, and like people would see a change in what they were seeing or how often their content showed up for other people, and then they would get upset about it. And rather than just saying, oh well, maybe I need to adjust to the algorithm, or maybe I need to rethink my strategy, or maybe I need to take some responsibility for what I'm doing, I'm just going to blame everybody else, right? So I'm just going to say, hey, it's them, they're shadow banning me, they don't like what I have to say, they're shadow banning me. And it's like, what are you talking about? You're not saying anything controversial. You're not like, at the bleeding edge of politics or world events or anything like that. Like you're just some schmuck with a podcast and you're complaining that like they're shadow banning you. Nobody's shadow banning you. Nobody cares about you. Like get out of your ego. Nobody even cares about you. Facebook isn't tracking your posts. Like get out of here. What are you talking about?
So
Nobody's
Tom, so you don't, and we weren't going to go shadow banning, but you don't think if you said something bad about like Elon Musk or about Zuckerberg on their platforms that they would, I mean, that they're shadow banning you or limiting that kind of content?
I absolutely think that the algorithm is designed to downgrade that kind of content. Sure. But like that's not shadow banning. That's
Well, that's
just
fair.
the way the algorithm is. Like Elon Musk is not sitting around going, "Oh, I don't like what Tom said about me. Shadow ban, shadow ban." Like that's not happening. There's no person sitting there going, "Oh, Tom Langan had a hot take, shadow ban." Like it's complete nonsense. The whole shadow banning thing is just a total nothing burger.
All
And I
right,
think,
all right. So
yeah,
couldn't it be done by algorithm though, and they just call it that? Isn't that the same if you limit a content? If Zuckerberg limit content about him and his new haircut, or that he's in the UFC now, is that not? Uh, I don't know.
it's not shadow banning because that's what the algorithm does.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
that's the whole point of the algorithm. The whole point of it, the way these social media networks have always been constructed, is to analyze your interaction with the platform and then feed you content that they think you'll like, right? And content and obviously to downplay content that's detrimental to the platform. Like, obviously that's always been baked into the algorithms. Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
like the whole thing with like most platforms don't, or like sort of downgrade or downrate content if it has a link to an external site, right? Why? Because they want you to stay on their platform. That's the whole game, right? The whole game is to get you to stay on the platform as long as possible so that they can put more advertising in front of you so that they can make money from advertising dollars, right? Like, that's the whole game. The whole game is to get you to stay on the platform for as long as possible. And so if you know that, then it just makes sense. Like, all they're doing is acting in their own interest. They're not like out to get me because I had something bad to say about Zuckerberg. Like, nobody's paying attention. I could say whatever I want about Zuckerberg, and I guarantee he will never know that I said it because he doesn't even know that I exist, nor does he care. And the same is true for everybody else that's out there screaming about being shadow banned. Nobody knows you exist. Nobody cares about what you have to say. Shut up and go home.
All right, all right. That should have been a shadow ban. Should have been a Tom's thumbs today. Okay, we are talking today about making your audience give a shit about you. So, well, why should they care about you? Is it because you're giving them? I would say because you're giving them so much value. Let's just start there. If I had an opportunity to weigh in on this, well, if you're giving them so much value, whatever value that is, if it's they want to learn about basketball, they want to learn about fishing, they want to learn about publishing books or media. I attended one of Tom's, Dr. Tachi was there. I attended Tom's media session the other day. What would you call your session you hosted, Tom?
It was called a masterclass.
Okay, I attended Tom's masterclass. Tom gave massive value there. I was like, huh, I get this. I wanted more of it. You gave me value. There was no hook or anything. I will follow Tom for more information. Like Tom gave me value. So I think leading with value is where I would start. So when you started this, it was your idea, making your audience give a shit, Tom. So what did you have in mind? What did you want to ask? What were you thinking?
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate you coming to that, Tom. I appreciate you coming. Dr. Tachi and Chris also was there. I really appreciate you guys showing up, coming through and listening to the masterclass. My goal, like I said at the beginning, my goal for that was to deliver a ton of value. And so I really appreciate you saying that you feel like I did. That's important to me. So yeah, look, I think there's a huge issue that people run into, and they sort of, often businesses and brands, right? Whether that's a large business or a private enterprise, or you're an entrepreneur or just a personal brand. I think often people put the cart before the horse when it comes to the way they communicate with their audience, right? And what I mean by that is often people lead with a sale, right? They lead with, here's what I make, right? Here's the services I offer. Here's what they're designed to do. And here's how you can pay me for them, right? That often is like the first touch that businesses or brands put out, and try to approach their audience with. And I think they're putting the cart before the horse. I think they're doing it backwards, right? What you should be doing is first delivering value to your audience, giving first, leading with a gift, right? And that gift cannot have strings attached. So it cannot come with conditions. It can't be a partial gift that only works if they pay for this other part of it, right? You can't hide part of the gift behind a paywall. You can't gatekeep part of it. You have to just give the value and do it over and over and over again, understanding that it is baked in to our culture. It is part of human nature that if you deliver the right value to the right people, they will over time then look for opportunities to return that value to you. And if you've tied that value to your brand, to your business, then the obvious choice, the path of least resistance, is to either become a client or a customer, right? Or refer people who are likely to become clients or customers to you, right? So you end up in that case with either a client or a customer down the road, or an advocate for your business out, generating referral business for you, because you've delivered so much value to them. But the only way it works is by delivering value first, right? And what that does is ultimately it gives them a reason, right, to care about you and your brand and your business and your products and your services, right? So you have to give them a reason to care, because you already, the problem, and I think here's when you get into the psychology of it, here's where I think the problem actually stems from, is people think of themselves as the audience, right? So what you end up with is somebody who obviously cares about their business because it's what they do, right? It's where they work. It's what puts a roof over their head. It's what puts food on their table. That work is something that's very important to them because of the impact it has on their life. Because in some cases, hopefully, because they're passionate about it, right? And so you end up with somebody who really cares about what they do and they want to share that. But the problem is they talk about it the same way they would talk to themselves about it or other people in their business or their industry. They don't talk to people outside of their industry. They don't understand intuitively that like their audience doesn't care about it the way they do off the bat, right? And may never care as much as they do because they work in a different industry, they have different interests and hobbies or whatever, different passions in life. So they may never really care about what you do the same way you do. And you have to accept that nobody's going to love your baby like you love your baby, right? But you have to talk to them as if as if you need to convince them why your baby, your business, your brand is worth caring about, right? You have to give them reasons to do that. And so I think the easiest way to do that is to, via your brand or your business, right, tied to your brand and your business, deliver value to them, give them gifts, right, and sign the metaphorical card from your brand, right? Give them a gift, sign the card from your brand, do that over and over again, and eventually they will get enough gifts and read enough of those cards and see your brand name enough times that they'll go, you know what? I should give them a gift back. It's the right thing to do. I can't take a gift without giving something in return. And so I'm going to give them a gift back. And so how do they do it? They buy your product, they buy your services, they refer people, friends and family to you, right, for your products and services. And boom, there you go. Now you've got an audience that gives a shh about you, right? But that's the way you do it, right? You have to give value, follow the rule of reciprocation, right? Develop that relationship and create the opportunity for them to return that value to you.
Beautiful. Okay, let's roll around. Let's see what our friend Dr. Tachi has to say. How are you making your audience care? How are you leading with value? What are you doing to maybe send that virtual card, Dr. Tachi? What say you?
Good morning. I walked in when Tom was like on serious fire. So thank you for that awakening this morning. But in any case, I I believe that I resonate with audiences because I actually care about them. And this is not to say that nobody else cares about their audience, but I think it's clear that I genuinely care about their well-being, care about who they are. Part of the way I show that is whenever anybody comes into the room, I greet them and I know something about them. If they're there for the first time, obviously I'm just welcoming them in. But for the most part, I know who you are, I know where you live, I know what you do, and not that I'm doxing you alive, but we talk about these types of things because it's a way of forming community, and about things about people you're in community with. So it's not just about me giving you what I think is important. It's about giving value, but giving value under the guise of I also know and care about you as well. So for me, that's the way I show it by welcoming people into the room and then actually knowing something about them and then listening to their perspective and allowing them to talk. Another thing is so many times people will do live streams, and I get that you don't always have time to acknowledge everything, especially if it's a very large live stream with lots of people. But people like to have their thoughts acknowledged. They like to say something and know that they didn't just say it for nothing. So that's the way I do it. I read out comments. I either agree or disagree with them, and if I disagree with them, I do so gently and let them know it's an interesting perspective. And that's what I have to say.
I like that, Dr. Tachi. Thanks for being here again today, and thanks for coming to the masterclass. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. I think when I was listening to you talk, what came to mind was a quote that's often attributed to Eleanor Roosevelt, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure it was actually her quote, or if she was paraphrasing or requoting someone else. But anyway, it's often attributed to Eleanor Roosevelt, and that is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. And I think, Dr. Tachi, you made a great point. One that as I heard you make it, I said, oh, I should have said that too. Right. That's how much I agree with it. I was like, oh, I should have thought to say that. But you're 100% right that, I think a way to demonstrate to your audience that you care about them is by delivering something that they value to them, by giving them that gift, by making sure that gift is valuable to them, something that they need or want, right? Which shows that you pay attention to them, you care about them, it makes them feel seen and heard, right? But absolutely, it makes it clear to your audience that you care about them, right? That you give about them, right? Which means that they will likely in turn care about you too, right? It's reciprocal. I mean, how many people do any of us have in our lives, in our personal lives, who we over and over and over again demonstrate that we care about, who never reciprocate? How long do those people last in your life, right? Those people who like often get referred to in terms of like in relationship terms as takers, right? How many of us have really good, long-standing relationships with people who are just takers, who never give of their time, their care, their emotional support, whatever the case may be, depending on your relationship, right? We don't, because they demonstrate that they don't care about us, and so we stop caring about them, right? And just like, and at the end of the day, like I always like to say this, often we forget in business that on both sides of every transaction is a human being. And so we like to think that there's separate rules for how we interact as human beings in a business context versus a personal relationship context. And there really isn't. People are people. So while you might behave slightly differently, the rules of human interaction and human behavior remain relatively constant, regardless of the context you're in. And so it's important to remember that the people, your audience, the community that you want to serve are individuals. They're human beings, and they want to be treated like human beings. And a great way to treat them like a human being is to demonstrate that you care, right? And in return, they will care about you. So I think that was a great point, Dr. Tachi, and one that as soon as I heard you say it, I felt remiss for not making myself, but I appreciate you bringing it up. What do you think, Dom?
Well, one, I think Dr. Tachi does a fabulous job recognizing people. I don't even know how she does it. I come in there and live stream sometimes, and you'll see all these people, and she like goes down this list, and she's like, "Hey, Dom, over in Pittsburgh, how's your suntan?" And then she keeps like motoring through, like she'll be talking about Tom Cruise, and then all of a sudden ask, hey, so and so says a quick line to him. So I think that is really well done. And I think if we're going to go on the reciprocation, showing your audience that you care, well, it could be like Dr. Tachi recognizing them. It could be supporting their content as well. I think on these apps and social media and things like that, so many people don't go. It's such a one-way street of people that are like, well, really, I'm trying to get you into my community, and then I'm going to later on pitch you. But how about somebody shares a picture that it's their anniversary or that they just finished a 5K or their kid graduated from college or high school or whatever they're sharing, and you don't even acknowledge it if you have the opportunity and you're looking, oh, come on, you can make a comment. But since we were talking about leading with value, I just wanted to share somebody that jumped in our comments real quick here, jumped in the room, somebody I never met before, but I thought, wow, somebody new here. And let's see in the comments, since we're leading with value, let's see how this person did it. This person, they were here a second ago. Okay. They were here a second ago. Maybe somebody deleted it if that's possible. They jumped in.
Sorry, Dom. I didn't know you were going to make a point of that. So I deleted it because I saw it and I was like, nope, spam, get out.
Okay, so very good. Somebody jumped in the room here. We've never met him before, and all of a sudden in the chat they said DM me $200, and they're going to teach you about crypto or whatever. Come on, this person did the opposite of everything we stand for. And then you see they're gone that fast. They only cared about their message, put their spam in the content, saw that this room wasn't the place for them, and ran like the wind. And should we do business with that person? I don't think I'm going to. So
no, I mean it's 100% like they were 100% like a scammer, right? Because it was like, if you want to make, I think what it said was like, want to make $200, DM me to like via WhatsApp the number in my bio, and I'll teach you how to make $200 in an hour on crypto or something like that. Like, I mean, it was complete like, scam central, right? And so that's why I deleted it, because I was like, oh, that's a scam. Goodbye. The person was already gone too. Like they came in the room, the comment got dropped, and they were gone like that fast, faster than I just said it. That's how fast it happened. And yeah, like, they're just playing the numbers game, right? They're doing it's like the old thing. I think you've talked about this, Dom, where like, when you worked in Yellow Pages, like you had sort of a quota, right? Where it was like, you had to make a certain number of phone calls a day. Right. And it was just because they knew statistically, if you make a certain number of phone calls a day, even if you're terrible at developing relationships and maintaining like customers or whatever, they know that if you hit a certain threshold, the likelihood is that a certain percentage of those phone calls will like buy an ad in the Yellow Pages. And so they'll make money. Right. So that's why that was the whole, like, that's the impetus behind those kinds of approaches, is like, hey, if we reach out to 10,000 people, like 100 of them are going to buy ads, right? Or 100 of them are going to DM us, to make $200, and we got them on the hook and we can scam them for whatever. And like, that's the game. 100%. It's just a numbers game. They're just scamming.
Somebody, and I mean, it's good to look at metrics. I mean, we should look at metrics, but some people get so tied up in these metrics that they forget that there's at some point in there had to be value shared. Like when I was in pharmaceuticals, we had one, they want you to see so many people a day. And then all of a sudden people just keep upping the number that they're seeing. Well, it's not even conceivably possible. I lived in Pittsburgh. There's traffic multiple ways. No, you only have so many doctors in your database, and things are an hour apart. You can only hit so many, but people would start to, okay, I hit 20. I talked to 20. What? How's this even possible? And then so they were like, well, now you need signatures from these people. So then people just find another way to manipulate all these fake metrics, whatever the metric is. People are going to find a way to lie about hitting whatever metric they hit. The metric is not the answer. The value is the answer. Okay, let's keep it rolling. Making your audience give that's what Tom says we are talking about today. Kevin, how are you making your audience give a rat's ass? What do you got?
Okay. First of all, thank you for inviting me up on stage. I think one of the things that you guys haven't discussed is what kind of platform you're reaching out to people on and what kind of content are you creating, I think are a big part of it. Because to me, I feel like the value is you're giving me what I'm looking for. So if I am looking to laugh and you have funny content, I'm going to keep coming. If I am looking for someone who's knowledgeable about a particular subject, or if I'm looking for interesting, thought filled conversations, if you're giving that, I'm going to keep coming back for it. I don't have to believe that we're friends or you personally care about me. I like to believe that if I'm a fan of somebody, that they're a decent person in general, but you can't possibly know your whole audience unless you're Dr. Tachi, who seems to know everybody, which is one of the reasons I've worked with her for so long, because she seems to know everyone on the planet. But I think in general, I don't pretend to know everybody who is a regular in my rooms, but the people that are regulars that I see more and more often on a platform like Clubhouse, you can't help but know them over time because they are just like a fixture and they become a prominent part of your community. So there is a close net part of a community on a platform like this, people that are coming to like almost every room you do. You get to know them, get to know when their birthday is, just because they're just, omnipresent. But for people that aren't omnipresent, I feel like if you're trying to create a community where people feel welcome, then I feel like that is giving value, where it's just like, I don't have to know you in particular, but anybody is welcome who is friendly and here to have a good time. I think that that is value, people feeling safe to share their thoughts, and they're not going to be jumped on or made fun of or laughed at for their thoughts. I think that's something that we can give our audience. That's important. But I just don't think it's fair to make it seem as if you know everyone. And I think that as long as you realize why your audience is coming to you and you continue to give them that, they will care about what you're doing, because what you're doing is giving them what they want. And so if I know that my friends also like thought-filled conversations, and I know that every time Dr. Tashi is sharing something, it's going to be thoughtful, and she's going to bring people on that are also thoughtful, then I'm going to share that information with them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, Kevin. I think maybe you weren't. I don't know if you were in the room yet when we started the conversation, but one of the things that I said at the beginning was, that you have to give your audience something they want or need, right? Like the value you deliver to them has to be something that they want or need. It shouldn't be what you want to say or what you want to talk about, right? Like as the content creator or the producer, you're not the audience, right? So I totally agree. You have to give them something they want or need.
Okay, well, can I say something? Can I respond?
Sure.
Okay, I kind of disagree with that, because I guess it depends what kind of content you're creating. I try to create content that I would listen to. That's my goal. Dr. Tachi and I have done a podcast called TV Channeling. We both met and connected on our love of television and entertainment news. So our goal was to create a kind of show that we wanted to listen to that we weren't finding in the marketplace. And so that's what we did. We created a show for people like us that love television and love musing on it. And so that was the goal. And so I feel like when people are passionate about something and they truly love it, they will attract people that also love that thing. So you can try and create content. A lot of people that are professional and quite successful at creating content for their audience versus creating content for themselves and attracting people that like what they like. And to me, if I want to be in this and actually be interested in what I'm saying and actually enjoy the process and enjoy the people I'm interviewing and talking to, it's going to have to be something I'm genuinely interested in. I mean, there are people that can just host and do anything, and they could do a show tomorrow about fishing lures. I have no genuine interest in fishing lures, but if somebody was paying me, I guess, a lot of money to talk about fishing lures, I would pretend to be interested in it. So I think that it depends on what kind of content creator you are. If you're passionate about a subject and you enjoy talking about it, and you can draw an audience to you because they recognize that passion and that excitement, that genuine to that, and be a part of it and have conversations with you on the subject that you're both passionate about.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, Kevin, I think we agree much more than we disagree on this, right? Like, and what you said was basically you have to create content that they also are passionate about, right? I'm not saying that you have to that it can't be something you like or that you're passionate or excited about. Like that absolutely is a good reason to make a show or to make or to create content is because it's something you're passionate about. I agree. Excitement and passion attracts excitement and passion. People are attracted, they're drawn to that, right? So we don't really disagree on this. I think we're like, I don't know if we're like caught up in some semantics or
You
something
guys are
here,
two
but
ships in
like,
the night. All right.
yeah.
I've had enough. All right. Okay,
But
making
hold on, Dom. Let me
go.
let me
Come
finish
on,
my sentence, man.
please.
So, but here's the point: is at the end of the day, your audience, whether or not they value the content you're creating, is the thing that matters, right? Because you can like it as much as you want, but if the audience doesn't like it, if you can't find or draw an audience to it, then you're just shouting into the void. It doesn't make any difference, right? So the thing is that you have to create content that your audience finds value in, right? That's the thing. So anyway, go ahead, Dom.
All right. So tense. You know I can't handle tense. Okay, making your audience give a shit. This is not the smartest guys in the room. We do this every Wednesday. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. We appreciate the ups, the downs, the comments, the tips, anything, right? We don't do this, like Tom said, we would be shouting into the void if it wasn't for you guys showing up and letting us know, as Tom always ends the show, that we are not the smartest guys in the room. And we will continue to try to be that. But since I am pretty smart and I'm almost there, I made a list when Tom brought up this topic today of things that I think, these are just, I wrote them down like in 30 seconds. I was like, I think these things would help your audience give a shit about you. Okay. One, authenticity. If you're authentic, authenticity has this is cliche sometimes now, but being authentic. Like I care about hiking, I care about books, I care about comedy, whatever that thing is that you care about, film. If they know you are authentic about it, hey, they can see that passion. That's important. Niche. You can niche down and let them know this is what I talk about. I don't talk about political affairs or this or that. I talk about publishing. I talk about media. I talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Steelers. I would talk about that all day. Okay. Speak directly to the audience, meaning no mumbo jumbo. Be direct. Don't tell them, don't speak in, you're going to 10x something. You're going to multiply it. You're going to be more direct. This, if you're trying to get an audience, make them care. Here's how I could help you. Here, I think you might be working on this. I think we could help you by sharing these tools. I think that was speaking directly. Tell them how you can help, be honest. And then to what Dr. Tachi and Tom said, show them you care. Add value, show them you care. All right, that's my little segue. Okay, we got Chris in the house, Vanessa, Fabian, Austin, Jimmy Hodges here. Okay, Tom, what do you have to say? Or is it
So
Tom's thumbs up?
no 10xing, no ridiculous over promising and under delivering.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a vague promise. So what I'm saying is, I can help you publish your book. I can take you from piece of paper to you're getting speeches, you're out selling books, you're proud of the book. 10x. I don't know what 10x is.
Yeah.
I can't sell something. You're selling something that is so vague. It's not tangible. It's not even measurable. Like
it's barely definable.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Vague. If you can't define it, well, then what is it? Well, you're giving me money and I can't give you an answer. Okay, so now, all right.
Being honest, it turns out being honest with your audience is important.
Fabian in the house. Fabian, Fabian asked a question last week and I made a reel of it. So come on up. But what do you think? Should we do Tom's thumbs? I want to know from Dr. Tachi. Is it time for Tom's thumbs or should we talk to Jason, Billy, and Fabian first? What do you think? What order?
Why don't we talk to the rest of the folks first. And that diatribe was not Tom's thumbs.
No, that wasn't Tom Stumps. So now Tom Stumps going to have to be
No.
quicker. Diatribe. So there you
well,
go.
below me down. Okay,
Okay.
well, whatever you like.
Okay, then we'll hear from Jason, and then before Billy and Fabian, we'll go to Tom Stumps. So, Jason, we're trying to talk about making your audience give a shit. How is that working for you?
Well, the first problem is you think you can make your audience give a shit. Just that phrase alone has problems. You don't control
I
what your
don't know.
audience
I
cares.
don't know. I'm asking, man.
Right.
So go on.
Well, I mean, as a stoic, as a man, as a content creator, and a voice of sometimes reason, is stop believing that you get to make it happen, and you got to stop worrying about the rules. There are plenty of ingredients to make different formulas of success in your content, and I agree a lot with Kevin. For example, I first started listening to Kevin on an app called Anchor 10 years ago. And I would hear his little clips on retro movies. And I thought, and he would have this voice. And ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about in 1985. And he would have a way of pitching it, and it would catch my attention for the way that he did. There were other creators that were doing like him, but there was tweaks maybe in his voice delivery. It was something it was not something invented. It was something that was already there and existed. Right. So just to use Kevin as an example, you can follow the rules all you want, but people like what they like, and you can't make them do anything. And the thing that really sets you apart from other people is what draws the curiosity. Like, it's easy to catch someone in an off moment and they're looking at you. And just like in social media, they can shift out within 10 seconds after you've given your hook because you didn't give them reason to stay, for their reason discovering why they need to stay, right? So when you look at it, you can do, some people say you're only as good as your last successful piece of work. So are you really that successful? What makes them not the smartest guys successful? Part of it is your consistency. The other part is I built a relationship with both you guys. I built a rapport. I've been a guest host with you guys, making great shows, and sometimes controversy. And when we talk about authenticity, okay, great. Plenty of people are authentic, don't make you interesting. I've seen plenty of people that have been consistent, but they're still not interesting. There is tweaks, and there is not an exact formula, but there are ingredients when you use your formula, just like making your favorite dish. Sometimes you practice and it keeps coming out the same way every time, but then there's a part where you got to start willing to take a risk and add something new and something worthwhile. We don't determine what is worthwhile to others. They do that for us. But so there's a part of where you resonate. Like, I go and create a show I like. Just like Kevin said, I go create Man to Man. I just got off. I call it Man Up Mornings. And I talk about my experience of what the shadow work is. And you know what? I had a lot of women come in and listen to me. Not men. Listen to me like, where did I start going right? Not where I started going wrong. I caught their attention. I looked at the metrics. It was 45% women, and identifiable women between the ages of 30 and 45. That was a quick metric. That told me what I'm saying resonates with them. I didn't know I was trying to resonate. I made it for me telling my story. A storyteller is great when you have more people sitting and listening. But some people are after it for an adrenaline kick, for admiration, trying to be on a pedestal. And those are people that are come and go like one-hit wonders. So, we can't make people give a shit, so to speak, about what we make. We can invite them to the opportunity, and there's lots of ways of doing it. And not every way works for everyone. So that's my response. I thank you guys always for being here almost every Tuesday. I thank you guys so much for allowing me on your stage and respecting me and trusting me to make considerable comment that contributes to your show. Thanks, guys, for Not the Smartest Guys.
Hey, man. Thank you, Jason. We appreciate you being here. And Jason is here with his comments. He doesn't always agree with us. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But like Kevin mentioned, we hope we have a space where people know they can come in and say this or that, and we're not We're not heartbroken if you disagree with us. I actually like it when you disagree with
You need
Tom.
to start playing Cheers theme song in your guys's.
Yeah, we need a theme song. We don't have a theme song. Okay, now making you not the smartest guys in the room. Every week we do a segment called Tom's Thumbs. So before we get to Billy and Fabian, we're going to do Tom's Thumbs. This is where we ask Tom a question about pop culture, something going on in the public. Last week we talked about Diddy, the Diddy trial. So we talk about different things. Tom, this week I want to ask you, I see black smoke coming from over in Rome or the Vatican, wherever that is. I want to ask you, what do you think about the Pope, Pope Leo, I believe, being from Chicago, an American Pope?
So the black smoke you're referencing comes out of the Sistine Chapel. That's where the election occurs. That's where the conclave occurs, and that's where they elect the Pope, right? So Pope Leo, originally from Chicago, apparently a Cubs fan, and I think a Bears fan also. So here's the thing. Honestly, I was raised Catholic, right? I grew up going to a Catholic church. I did Sunday school. I've done, like went all the way up through getting, my confirmation when you're like around 8th grade, 13, 14 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood, you get confirmed. So like I kind of was raised in that tradition. I am not a practicing Catholic. I am not a religious person or organized in any sort of organized fashion. But I will say this: one, I think it's good that the Catholic Church is continuing in a more progressive direction than they have historically. I'm glad to see that Pope Leo is sort of picking up the work that Pope Francis did in sort of trying to bring the church forward. And trying to, in some ways, gradually over time, modernize it and bring its worldview more in line with the sort of global consensus of where we are in human civilization. So I appreciate that. And then, honestly, my favorite part of the new Pope being from the South Side of Chicago are all the little sort of stories I've heard of people who knew him growing up, and like interviews with his brother talking about Bob, his brother, the Pope, and talking about growing up with him. I even saw a reel, or actually maybe I saw it on TikTok, a woman reacting to the selection of the new Pope when it was being announced with her daughter and son on sort of like on a FaceTime or on a Zoom call together. Apparently the mom had some sort of romantic relationship with Bob when he was a much younger man before he took on the robes and went into the priesthood. So apparently, I think the sort of the byline in that in the description was, "My mom made out with the Pope," something like that. So like that's kind of been my favorite part of it on a very sort of light note.
I'm clipping just that. Go on.
Yeah, my favorite part of the Pope being this Pope being the first American Pope is getting to see people from his childhood, people who've known him for a very long time, react to Bob from Chicago becoming Pope Leo. I've loved that. I've really enjoyed that immensely as a non-practicing Catholic. And then as somebody, look, the Vatican, whether you like it or not, the Vatican and the Catholic Church more broadly has a lot of influence in the world. And I think it's a good thing that they have elected a pope who is cut from at least similar, if not the same cloth as the last pope, who is progressive, who is outspoken about human rights and about treating people well, especially the least among us, which is one of the sort of like kind of mainstays of Christian traditions, is that we should treat we should be judged by the way we treat the least among us. And Pope Francis, made a big point of always fighting for and arguing for human rights and treating people with kindness and dignity and respect, regardless of their circumstance. And I get the sense so far that Pope Leo is cut from the same cloth in that regard. And so for those reasons, and for interviews with his brother and some woman on TikTok claiming to have made out with him at some point, Pope Leo gets a thumbs up from me.
Well done. Another thumbs up. One of the things that I really like about it too is the memes, like when he's scrunched between a Chicago dog and eating those sandwiches with those peppers on them in Chicago and things like that. And they're naming their sandwiches like the Leo special and things like that. Yeah,
I forgot that. That's another thing I like about him is now there's a pope who, like me, believes that that no adult should put ketchup on a hot dog. That's
true.
A pope I can get behind.
Fair enough. Okay, we are going on. So I'm going to reframe because I listen to what people say. So Jason said, you can't make your audience give a shit. So Billy, now I didn't even want to say that because you can't make them. So Billy, how do you put out content that you hope, or how do you hope they care about you? I don't know how I want to reframe that. I haven't figured that out yet, Jason. So Billy, you got to figure out what I'm trying to say and then answer.
Oh man, hey, I always love this room. Glad I could jump in. I'm actually doing some windshield time driving to Miami to ship my dogs. So good conversation. I always think of it like, what is an audience versus your community? And I go to like a restaurant the other day, and we're eating, but there's a band playing, and so of course I'm in proximity to the band, so I can hear them playing, but I'm really not engaged. I'm really not paying attention because I don't really know them. So in that instance, in my mind, I'm a part of the audience. But their community, you can tell who that is because those are the people sitting close to them. They got chairs lined up in front of them. They're singing along to the songs. They're wearing the T-shirt. And so when I think about creating, these fans or creating community, like an audience is great. And I think you can put out and whatever type of content you want, right? So it's going to be entertaining content, educational content. It doesn't really matter. Like there's so many different types of people out there. Someone is going to like whatever you're putting out. Doesn't matter. Now, I agree with Jason. I think if you put out consistently non-interesting things, then you can't really complain that no one, goes from that audience position to community position. So, if people are giving a shit about me and what I'm doing, they're probably a part of my community. There's plenty of people that watch what I do that can probably even tell you what I do, but they're not a part of my world. They're just spectators. So I find that audience members are spectators, and then I have my community members. And there's, once again, like Jason said, there's lots of ways to get people to come into that next layer with you, a lot of strategy about that. And I do think it is, one, giving them an opportunity to do that. Like people don't come to a party they're not invited to unless they're weirdos. So you got to invite people a lot to come to the party, to come to the group call, come to the community, come to the concert. That band playing, they just didn't show up, and then their people just knew they were there. Like they got invited. So it's making those connection points with that, outer layer of people who you want to come closer into your inner circle. So I think creating a lot of events, offers, or whatever, and creating a lot of invites, and then listening to those people when they come into your world. Don't just be a freaking know-it-all. Like ask questions, be inquisitive, be interesting. I love that, Jason. I think that's why when people look at Joe Rogan and go, man, how does this guy's show crush it and is in first place more than not? It's because he has very interesting people. He has very interesting friends and interesting guests, and he can hold an interesting conversation. And I think that's what everyone likes, no matter what niche or what industry or what the hell you're talking about. It's got to be interesting. And I'll land my plane.
Billy, man, thank you very much. Appreciate you. This thought of inviting them, whatever it is, inviting them. Tom talks about sometimes it's not an ask, it's an invite. So I hear you with that. And I'm a fan of Billy's content. And let's say I might be on the sillier side. So Billy, where like he gives massive value like he just did, but sometimes he'll bait me in, and not that you're baiting me, but when you're putting out content, he puts out a lot of content, and it will be like him making something, or him in his office and he's shipping out packages, and just the way he does it, the way he frames it, I'm like, huh, I'm interested. Okay, then I watch the next time, then I watch another time, then I watch, and he gives some value on something else. So because he can, like Kevin says, he consistently delivers. So in my world, I try to, and you've heard me say this before, share inspiration, positivity, and smiles 24/7, and help other people do the same. So everything that I'm a part of, from nonprofit work to not the smartest guys in the room to publishing a book, to content I put out, I hope that at the end of the day, somebody says, huh, that made me smile. That made me think. That elevated humanity. And that's how I am. That's how I live my life. If I can put out that kind of content, then hopefully I can pay my bills along the way and do all right in society. So making your audience, Tom had, how about inviting your audience to give a shit? Yeah. We were talking about invites. How about get them? There's a lot of different ways we can frame it. Tom, we got Fabian here. You got any thoughts on that before we go to Fabian?
I was just going to say, like, let's just ask it that way, right? So like Fabian, a whole bunch of folks up here, myself, Dom included, have been giving our thoughts on getting your audience to actually care about you. So what's your take? How do you get your audience to give a shh about you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. Great getting these nuggets in here. And by the way, real quick on the Pope, the fact that he is of Haitian heritage really makes me makes me want to know more about him, and maybe that even gives him an even broader worldview. So I'm really excited about this new Pope that has been installed. As far as my show, Game Changers with Fabian Lyon, I've been navigating this for 3 years now. And it kind of happened naturally, Tom, in terms of not asking the obvious question, right? How many times have we tuned in and we've heard this question posed so many times before on other platforms? So I do a little more research. I might go to a previous interview that this guest has done. But the last thing I want to do is ask them the obvious question. And I've got some really, really fascinating responses from some prominent guests. One, for example, real quick, I'm just giving this as context, right? Mrs. Muhammad Ali. I said, tell me something about Muhammad's training that we didn't know. Well, he ran backwards a lot, and that's why he has such great footwork. Most of the clips we've seen is him running, and, I said, man, he's a workout maven, but he did a lot of backpedaling in his workouts. And it's like, wow, that's a nugget right there. That's a nugget right there. So asking non-obvious questions. And the biggest thing for me is when a guest will say, especially a prominent guest will say, man, I've never heard that question before. So that happened naturally. So now I'm more intentional about asking questions that maybe they've not heard before. And the second thing is I'm a big David Letterman fan as far as just how he made his guests get so comfortable in such a short period of time, whether he knew them or not. But I just think that he had this gift. And that is something as well, like making my guests feel comfortable. And if they are comfortable, I think it just radiates throughout the audience and whoever might be tuning in. So that said, Tom, I'm asking this great panel, what, in terms of podcasting, is there anything that you can tell me outside of the obvious in terms of making that connection with their audience, outside of all these reels that we see? Thank you.
So I'm not sure, like, are you just asking if there's any other tips? I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking about for the last 50 minutes. So I'm not sure. Is there a
yeah. In terms of podcasting, we talked about content, but in terms of making your audience give a as a podcaster.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rules are the same regardless of platform, right? So I think generally speaking, whether you're delivering content on YouTube or you're delivering it via a podcast, or you're doing a live stream podcast, like Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, whatever the case may be, the sort of crux of the issue, the core, is making sure that you're delivering value to your audience, right? Making sure that you are giving them something that they want or need or appreciate, right? And doing that, like again, I think it's clear, and I think this goes back to Kevin's point earlier, right? Like that, I think it's clear that you're passionate about the interviews that you do and the conversations that you have on your podcast, and I think that bleeds over into your audience, and people are attracted to that. I think also you're doing something very smart, which is making sure that you make your interviews stand out and that you make them feel conversational, right? That you make your guests, your interview subjects feel comfortable. Those are two really important things. The best interviews don't feel like interviews. They feel like conversations, right? So I think that's something that's incredibly important that you're doing. It's smart, and I would encourage you to continue doing it. I think you'll continue to find success with it. Digging out those bits of information, even sometimes surprising your guests with questions they don't normally get asked, is a great way to really draw people in to find out new information, right? So they don't feel like, I've heard 18 interviews with this person. I don't need to listen to this one. They'll turn around and go, no, you know what? I need to listen to Fabian's interview because he always gets something new out of people. He always finds a way in or a different thing to talk about that nobody else does, right? So I think that's a really good way for you to continue doing that. So thanks for being here, and thanks for asking that question. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Really appreciate it. Now we are coming up on the hour. We got two things left to do. Now that we've gotten through the whole panel, we've got Dom's show and tell, and then we got a wrap up. So before we go to the wrap up, Dom, show us and tell us about something.
Okay, I try every week, one, to trick you guys into watching the live stream periodically. So that's part of the roots of show and tell, because if I'm talking here, you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? So it helps my storytelling be more detailed as well by explaining things that you can't see. So I got to tell you something. So today I am going to hold up something my son made in 6th grade. It's out of, he's in college now. He's going into his sophomore year of college. And I said, my son made this plaster. It is, I think it's made out of plaster. It is a plaster Donald Trump that he made. And so it hangs in our dining room, and it's got a big head, and it's got big white hair, and you could say it's big yellow hair, and you could say it's George Washington or whatever. But he made this. And so I had hesitated to show it. I'd like to show it for show and tell. And this is not a political thing. My son was in 6th or 5th grade and made a plaster thing of the president. Me and him talked about maybe it was a different time where you could have a plaster thing that your kid made of the president and not make anybody mad. Like, hey, my kid in good spirit made a plaster thing of the president that his dad hangs and is proud of. So I would like everybody to be a little lighter and a little less quick to jump on everybody's back. And it's funny, we were just talking about good interviewers, and we mentioned Rogan. Howard Stern's also a great interviewer, and they're on complete different sides of the spectrum, but they both listen intensely. They both ask great questions. Two different types of people. It's okay to be different. It is okay that my son made a plaster Donald Trump, and it would have been okay if he made a Biden, Sarah Palin, Hillary Clinton, or whatever as well. It is okay. So today, Tom, I am showing you the plaster Donald Trump head with yellow hair that my son made in 5th or 6th grade. That's what you got.
Well, I think it's good to be proud of your kids and proud of the things they make. And yeah, a kid making that in 5th or 6th grade, I think, there's no sense reading too much into it, right? It's a kid in 5th or 6th grade. Donald Trump was the president when he was in 5th or 6th grade. He, decided to make that in the image of a public figure. And, my 2 cents, I think he nailed it. I think it looks exactly like him. So that's my thought on it. I think it looks exactly like him. He nailed it, captured his essence beautifully. So yeah. But I like it. I think, and I'm sure I'm going to have things that, that my daughter makes for me as she gets older, that I appreciate, that are kind of, maybe a little bit silly, or maybe, open to other interpretations, but, I will value them nonetheless because they come from her. So I can definitely appreciate that as a parent.
I got a good follow-up to that, Tom.
Go ahead.
Speaking of interpretations, now you need to interpret what the hell went on here for the last hour and give us would you say word contingent, you use it a lot. What's the word? Congegent,
What?
something argument you say about I don't know. No.
What?
A conjugate. I don't know. I'm
I don't
gonna
know what you're talking about, man.
I don't know. You say it a lot.
You're not, those are, none of those are words, I don't think.
Sorry, now I gotta look it up. You always say it's I'm going to give you this type of argument, and you hope it's like you hope it makes sense. That's the anyway, forget it. What a terrible segue. I blew it. It's not cohesive. I don't know what. I'm gonna look it up.
Wah, wah, wah.
Hello, Jason. Thank you. Could have finished strong. Instead, I let you all down. But Tom won't let you down with the wrap up. You got it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what word you were looking for there. I'll try to I'll maybe, who knows, I'll tell you what, if I use it in the wrap up, you got to give me a high sign on the live stream, and I'll circle back to it. But look, I think at the end of the day, when it comes to and we'll follow Jason's thoughts here, you can't make your audience care about you, but when it comes to getting them to care about you, what you have to do is give them the opportunity to do that. And I think the shortest path to accomplishing that is by delivering value to them. So in whatever you do, whether it's a podcast, content creation, representing your brand or your business, as a salesperson, whatever the case may be, you have an audience. And whenever you're in front of that audience, you should always do your best to deliver value to them. Period. End of story. If you deliver value to people, they will return that value to you. And if you tie that value to your brand or your business, then they will either become customers or clients, or they will refer people. They will become advocates for your brand or your business, and they will refer people to you. So focus on delivering value first, right? Put value first, and kind of everything else, I think, kind of stems from and follows from that. But always lead with value. That's something I say a lot. For anybody that's read my book, it's, right in the front. It's the first thing I talk about, right, is to lead with value always. It's something I always try to do, something we try to do, Dom and I try to do here in Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. And we hope more people try to do, because I think when we lead with value, we create a better relationship and better interactions with everybody we come across. So something I always try to do, and something I would encourage all of you to try to do, lead with value always. So that's all I got. That's how I'm going to wrap it up. That's it. We're over time, so I was trying to be very brief, rather than doing a whole bunch of callbacks and all kinds of things. But yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff today. I ranted about what a bunch of nonsense shadow banning is. We talked about the new pope. We talked about how to give your audience the opportunity to give a shh about you. We were admonished in the comments by Chris for our language. Lots of things happened today, but most importantly of all, you guys were here with us for Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. We appreciate you as always. We love you. You're the reason why we do this every week at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, right here, live streaming across the internet. You are the reason why we do. We host Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, and so thank you for giving us the opportunity to do it. For myself and for Dom, we are Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. We thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will see you next Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern for another edition of Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. Hopefully the plaster visage of Donald Trump will not be accompanying us next week. But until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We love you. Thank you. Bye-bye.